Welcome to the Ask Coach Mac podcast, where coaches from around the world get their strength and conditioning questions answered.
What's up, guys? Rob McKeefery here, and welcome to episode number 7 of Ask Coach Mac. Thank you so much for joining me today. We have a great question from Alex, but before we get to that, I want to thank today's sponsor, Iron Grip. Iron Grip has been leading the way in free weight design and construction for over 20 years. I've put their plates, dumbbells, and bars in 3 of my facilities, including my own garage where my family and I train. Please join me in thanking them for giving back to the strength and conditioning community by supporting things like Ask Coach Mac and the number of clinics and conferences that they're a part of each year. To learn more, go to www.irongrip.com. Follow them on social media, Twitter, @iron_grip, or call 800-664-4766. All right, here's today's question from Alex.
Hello, Coach Mac. My name is Alex Barron. I'm a strength and conditioning intern currently, and I'd like to get your opinion on how you deal with your star athletes when they have a terrible attitude compared to your non-starting athletes that have a good work ethic and good attitude overall. Thank you for your time.
Alex, I really appreciate this question. And star athletes and relationships with athletes is something that continues to be an issue. But I think what a lot of people do is they think that society, athletes, people have changed so drastically from maybe when they went to school or something along those lines. And the reality is it's not that different. I mean, athletes are athletes, coaches are coaches, and they've been that way for a long time. You know, really when it gets down to it, dealing with people in general is relationships. You know, what kind of relationship do you ultimately have with those athletes? And so I think there's a couple critical steps that you have to take here. One is whenever you're dealing with any mass of people, any group of people, if you get the leaders, you're gonna be able to get the group. And that's, in my opinion, that's the reality. And so I usually do an exercise with our teams whenever I take over a team, or maybe at the beginning of the year and I'm not sure who the leaders are or something along those lines, but I'll give them a task. You know, it'll be something as simple as, you know, a human pretzel or something like that, where everybody has to cross over their arms and grab somebody else's different hand or something like that. And what we'll do is we'll see who takes charge. Who are the people that people listen to? Who are the people that they ignore? Who talks? Who doesn't? You know, and you try to make it a task that those guys, those hard guys to reach are going to be involved. I mean, their competitive juices are going to be involved. And the number one thing is that every single one of those guys, they love ball, whether that's softball, basketball, football, whatever it is. They typically love their sport. And so you have a common ground. You can always kind of find that common ground with them. And so usually that's driven by a competitive spirit, and so creating a competitive activity like that will get them talking. Once you know who the influencers are, then you can really start to pull those guys in and really have discussions. And one of the things that I do with our team is we make sure that we sit down with our athletes each and every training phase, at the beginning of the training phase, and we talk through goals. And it's not just your typical, okay, I want to bench this, squat this, clean this. It's really, we get into asking them what their why is. There's a great book by Simon Sinek, Start With Why. And, you got to determine the why before you determine the what and the where. And so, why is it that they came to college here? Why is it that they love the game of football or basketball or whatever? Why is it, that they want to change their life? And once you understand, maybe this is the only opportunity they have to get out of a bad situation. Maybe it's the only escape that they have. Maybe it's the only outlet for them to release their frustrations. Whatever it is, once you understand their why, you can start to kind of put that into effect. When you have a common ground and you determine their why, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden they're just going to go out there and do everything you ask them to do. And so typically, things that I like to say is that you have to develop a relationship with the athletes outside of the 2 hours that you have them. I mean, they have 22 hours to mess up everything you just did. So if you're not involved with those other 22 hours in some way, you're failing. And so you have to do things. We like to tell our athletes one of our goals is to create an experience that is one of the best experiences of their life. Not the best, but one of the best experiences of their life is training with us. And so, one of those ways that you can do that is to create life experiences. And so, for example, last year we took our athletes and we went and we camped out on a sand dune overlooking one of the Great Lakes and did a sand dune workout. Well, a lot of these guys have never seen a Great Lake, let alone a sand dune, and climbed it. And so, by providing these life experiences with them, all of a sudden you become that person that did that for them. And not that they're indebted to you, but they appreciate it. So you got to develop a relationship with them outside those other 22 hours. And then when the things do arise where there's some negativity or maybe they're not doing the things, I always like to say that you got to praise in public and criticize in private. And so whenever I see actions that I want to, just like with my own kids, whenever I see actions I want to encourage, I praise them. I tell them right there. I tell them in front of the group, and they really appreciate that because typically they want some attention. When we criticize though, I'll always criticize it in private. I'll pull them aside, or I'll pull them into my office, or ask them to come meet with me, and we'll talk one-on-one, man to man, eye to eye, and you're gonna tell me eye to eye why you're acting a fool. You're gonna have that conversation. I think having direct conversations with players anymore is a lost art, and so we make sure we do that. And then I think the last thing is, you got to treat everyone with respect. What happens? What you mentioned with the non-star or the star athletes or the athletes that always do right. Well, what they do is they get upset when they see somebody else being treated differently. And so, if you're consistent with your messaging, you treat everyone with respect. Because if you treat, I like to say all the time that with walk-on players, a lot of times these star athletes will see you treat a walk-on player as a subpar individual. And yet those people maybe those are some of their best friends in the locker room, and so they lose respect for you because you're not treating people the right way. And so we treat everyone with respect. We hold everybody to the same standard. Doesn't mean that everybody's the same and that you always handle every situation the same. But, when you're consistent with your messaging, I think that everybody appreciates that and respects that. So, Alex, I hope that answers your question. Would love to hear what everyone else thinks. Use the hashtag AskCoachMac7 to continue the discussion on Twitter. I want to encourage everyone else that if you have a question that you would like to potentially be featured on the show, to head over to AskCoachMac.com. There you can ask your question by hitting the record button at the bottom of the page. Thanks so much. I appreciate you. And here's a quote to finish the day by an unknown author. Respect is earned, honesty is appreciated, love is gained, and loyalty is returned. Take care, guys, and I will see you in the next episode of Ask Coach Matt. Bye for now.